located just east of the Roman Forum. Officially opened in 80 AD. It kicked off with 100 days straight of gladiator battles and officially called the Flavian dynasty. It was opened under Titus. Father commissioned the Colosseum in 70 AD. Titus and his brothers were known for toning down the Roman court and promoting public welfare. It took nearly a decade to complete. It was the largest amphitheater in the Roman world, 620 by 513 feet. Saw about 4 centuries of active use. By the 6th century AD, public tastes put an end to gladiatorial combats and other large public entertainments. Games were abolished in 404 AD by Emperor Honorius. By the 20th century, a combination of weather, natural disasters, neglect, and vandalism had destroyed nearly 2/3 of the original Colosseum. The Roman Colosseum, one of the most iconic structures in ancient Rome. The Colosseum is known for its brilliant architecture and complex design, reaching an extraordinary engineerical achievement that never seen before. The Colosseum was built as an amphitheater. An amphitheater is a stadium-like setting, typically unroofed, used for entertainment such as battles, sports, plays, etc. The word amphitheater comes from the ancient Greek language, which means place for viewing. Unlike most amphitheaters at the time, the Roman Colosseum had an elliptic shape rather than a circular one. The basic layout was simply incorporating 2 Roman theaters back to back. The structure was 189 meters in length and 156 meters width. It had a facade height of 48 meters. The base area covered 24,000 square meters, which is around 6 acres. It was divided into 3 floors. Each floor had 80 arches. The first floor had Doric columns for its arches, Ionic for the second, and Corinthian for the third. The Colosseum's vast space allowed for more than 50,000 people at once. The levels of seating were divided into 4 levels based on social structure in a tiered manner. The first level, known as podium, was reserved for the important people, from senators, priests, vestal virgins, and including the emperor and his family. The second level, known as Menianum Primum, was reserved for non-senatorial noble class called the equites, or knights. The third level was known as Menianum Secundum, is reserved for the common people known as plebeians, who were the majority in numbers. This level splits into 2 sections. The lower part, the Amuum, was for wealthy plebeians, and the upper part, the Summum, was for poor citizens. And lastly, the fourth level, known as Menianum Secundum in Legnice, the highest from the ground, was for slaves and women. With the enormous amount of people in the Colosseum, the architectural design allowed for the massive crowds to get in and out in a matter of minutes. The interior structure contains arches and staircases in a system that allowed people to transport easily and efficiently. With over 80 archways, 4 of which are dedicated for the king and his family to enter the buildings. The other 74 were for ordinary citizens. According to some documentation from writers at the time, it's been recorded that the building was used for naumachii, which is an ancient Roman spectacle representing a naval battle. Evidence suggests that a plumbing system and water channels were used to flood the arena, in addition of draining pipes that led to city's sewer system. Later on, after when the Colosseum was built, under the rule of Emperor Domitian, an underground structure called the Hypogeum was built, which ended the continuation of naumachii. The word Hypogeum comes from an ancient Greek word for underground. The Hypogeum in the Colosseum contained a vast network of tunnels, cells, rooms, and passages. This allowed for wooden floor to be installed in the arena. The wooden floor was covered with sand to give a realistic aesthetic. The Colosseum was the first amphitheater in Rome purposely built to showcase gladiatorial combats. A large canopy could be put over the top of the stadium to provide shade for the audience on hot days. Shows at the Colosseum were usually free to the public because the emperors believed it would keep Romans content with the way the city was being governed. This would in turn lead to the poor being occupied with free shows instead of revolting against the government for economic disparity. In lieu of this method, the viewing public was well protected by the authorities during events. Events that took place in the Colosseum included gladiator fighting, feeding of Christians to lions, mock sea battles, animal circus acts, animals fighting animals, venationers or animal hunts, people fighting animals. Really hungry animals were released to maul and eat a live human tied to a stake. Gladiators, however, were the most popular attraction. Gladiators were often slaves or prisoners of war and experienced a casualty rate near 50% per show. A few gladiators boxed using metal gloves to increase score and bleeding. When one gladiator had bested his opponent, the crowd would indicate whether they felt that the loser had put up a good enough fight to survive. Although this was rare, if given a free pass, the loser of the fight may live on to fight another day.